הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. How pleasant and good it is for brothers and sisters to be together. Diane Lab, chair of the Conference of Presidents, Malcolm Honline, vice chair, my friend, William Daroff, CEO, and my friends that you all came from far away. While the world has its eyes glued to the Ukrainian-Russian border, trying to imagine what turn history will take, we in Israel and the stable states in the region, we're keeping one eye on the Ukrainian-Russian border and another on Vienna, where the talks between the world powers and Iran are taking place. So we look to Vienna and we're deeply troubled by what we see. For Israel and all the stability-seeking forces in the Middle East, the emerging deal, as it seems, is highly likely to create a more violent, more volatile Middle East. Now, there's no doubt that America is and will remain our biggest and strongest friend. But ultimately, it's us. It's us who live in the region, and it's us here in Israel who will bear the consequences of this agreement. To be sure, our position is not automatic. We're not against any deal per se. But many people who supported the original JCPOA deal back then are very worried about the agreement right now. Now, when we discuss this matter with our friends in the United States, we all agree on the diagnosis. Yeah, Iran is at a very advanced phase of its uranium enrichment project. That's a fact. They've crossed one threshold after another, one red line after another, including enriching at 60% enrichment grade as of last April. So this is the situation that we on both sides of the ocean, we inherited. This is the hand we were dealt. It is what it is. And there's no point in playing the blame game right now. We need to address the challenges at stake. The single biggest problem with this current agreement is that the freeze sunsets in 2.5 years. 2.5 years, which is right around the corner. In 2.5 years, Iran, by this agreement, will be able to freely develop, install, and operate advanced centrifuges. According to the agreement as it stands right now, in just 2.5 years, they'll be able to set fields the size of a football field full of centrifuges spinning. And it'll be legal. In the meantime, as an advanced payment, Iran gets now tens of billions of dollars in frozen assets and access to new markets. And a lot of this money is going to be directly funneled right away towards attacking Israel, towards attacking our allies, and even attacking American soldiers in the Middle East. That's what they're doing now. That's what they do every week. Right now, they're very weak. The rial has depreciated. They're at one of their weakest spots in history, and now we're going to pour tens of billions of dollars back into this apparatus of terror. I want to highlight 3 points that we'll all need to address vis-a-vis this agreement. As I said, the sunset clause, the clause that says that in 2.5 years, they no longer have to freeze the development of uranium enrichment centrifuges, leaves Iran with a fast track to military-grade enrichment. And even in the time until it sunsets, even these 2.5 years, they don't even have to destroy the centrifuges they developed recently. Secondly, The next point is a point that America has not yet agreed upon. The Iranian regime is insisting, listen to this, on closing the open files of the IAEA. These are essentially hot investigations pertaining to possible military dimensions. Let me turn that into simple English. So Iran has been hiding and is still hiding nuclear weapon-related materials as we speak. These inspectors that work very hard, they caught Iran. Iran's been caught red-handed, and now Iran is demanding that these very inspectors will pretend to forget what they saw. Erase the memory like Men in Black, you remember? Now, this is the equivalent, I want to explain. Imagine some town and there's some murderer on the large, and there's a detective who's been working really hard for months, and he's now finally found that this person has a pistol illegally. So now the sheriff comes and tells him, forget it. He doesn't have a pistol. Close the file. Pretend that nothing happened. Not only is it a problem because the pistol is still there, even if we ignore it, think what it does to the inspectors. What does it mean to the IAEA if Iran gets its way? Is the IAEA a political organization? No. It's a professional organization whose goal is to shed light on the truth, on reality, be it what it may. And if they allow political considerations to tell the inspectors, forget everything you've done, that would be a profound blow to the IAEA. Our friends in America are telling us that they are standing strong on this, and I hope to see that through. The third point, the agreement is going to pour, as I said, tens of billions of dollars into the Iranian terror apparatus. Iran works through proxies in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Gaza. Now imagine you're going to get more UAVs, more attacks on merchant ships, more attacks and more rockets on Israel, on our allies, through its proxies. And now, to cap the chutzpah, Iran has a new demand on top of everything, right? They are demanding now to delist the IRGC. Let me explain. I want you to understand what this means. Iran's asking to let the biggest terror organization on earth off the hook. To look at this terror organization and say, it's not a terror organization. To pretend. This is the new demand. So my friends, this agreement indeed creates a set of new challenges for Israel's security. I'm being very clear about the holes and the challenges it's going to create, but let me be clear. One way or another, I've got no doubt that Israel will prevail with whatever circumstances we're faced. Yes. We've developed a strategy around the deal. We think the deal is going to make it much, much harder, but we're here. Yes, this agreement will enrich this brutal and incredibly corrupt regime, but this is only temporary. See, if I was an investor, and I'm not allowed to invest as Prime Minister, Iran would be the last place on earth I would invest in. What a bad investment. Unstable. The rial has been devaluated more than ever. Rotten, corrupt regime. Nobody in his right mind should invest in a country whose biggest export is terrorism. That's their single biggest service and product. That's what they export. And look, on the other hand, at Israel. Israel is stronger than ever. Israel is currently growing at an 8% growth rate. in 2020 through the latest rounds of COVID. Our economy is booming and will continue to grow, becoming more competitive and less regulated. We passed a budget after many years without one. Our high-tech is breaking all its previous records. That's where I spent my previous life before making the huge mistake of entering politics. We're adding now more Jewish men and Arab women to the workforce. We had these two groups that were not integrated, now we're bringing them in. We ensured political stability. After 4 rounds of elections, I took the decision that we're going to pull Israel out of this hole, and our path is as good as ever. I want to tell you, we're also building unprecedented military capabilities. We have to be, by far, the strongest nation in the region, much ahead of everyone else. It's our duty to provide security to our people while being a reliable ally to our friends. So yes, there are challenges, but we're up to them. Let me be clear. Iran will not accept Iran. I'll be clear again. Israel will not accept Iran as a nuclear threshold state. And we have a clear and unnegotiable red line. Israel will always maintain its freedom of action to defend itself. This government, from day one, made it a priority to reach out to the world, to restore and nurture the relations with our neighbors. My very first weeks, I flew out to meet King Abdullah, President Sisi, MBZ, and now the King of Bahrain. We're strengthening our friendship with our neighbors. We're also committed to working with both sides of the aisle in the United States, as we did in the past. Just this week, I'm going to be meeting dozens of elected officials from the United States, Democrats and Republicans alike. Israel is becoming bipartisan yet again. Now, despite the differences we have on this agreement, and we do, and we're very candid about it, our relations with my good friend, President Biden, and his administration will remain close and robust. We're going to continue to focus on Israel's security. We will say, and more importantly, we will do everything necessary to ensure it. Thank you. Toda rabba.